Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Thank you. Now enjoy the show.
All right, y'all. What's up? Thanks for tuning in again to RAERAEs Review. This time I will be discussing Real Housewives of Orange County, one of my favorite shows. You know, I haven't reviewed them yet this season. This is season 18, and we're on episode 15. Can you believe it? I've been watching every episode, but I just haven't reviewed it. That's crazy. But there's no time like the present. Ooh, these heifers getting into it. I miss Gretchen. That's my girl. Ooh, she was on Real Housewives of Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, the controversial one that most likely will not come out, with Brandy Glanville, Caroline Manzo, you know, all that mess going on. Where she's heifers will just do right so we can see some must-see TV, because, you know, Brandy is always must-see TV, and apparently it's a little too much, according to Caroline. But it looks like Gretchen may have come to Caroline's defense. You know, I'm not even talk about that because that's just too controversial. We're going to find out, excuse me, when we find out. But anyway, back to the Real Housewives of Orange County, season 18, episode 15, the longest running housewife show. Yes, baby. And then it was RHOC, and then it was, what's some people called? New York. We had a few failures, but you know, it is what it is. Anywho, can't wait till RHOC come out. I think they're coming out, what, January, February 2025? I wish Dallas would come back. Oh, that show was good. They have, what, 4 or 5 episodes? 4 or 5 seasons? Man, you know what? Ain't too late. You know, maybe everybody can't come back. Leanne's show can't come back, child, because she was one of them racists. But anyway, the ladies are relaxing. They're out there in London. Shannon is hosting her birthday trip. She wanted to go back to her resorts. And so we see Tamra. It's a lot of back and forth, right? People talking over here. Some people grouped up over here. Some people talking over there. So it's going to be like that for a minute. So ladies are relaxing. Like I said, Tamra and Katie are talking about Shannon. And Katie's like, why does she have to just go blow up and be that way? Of course, Katie is learning everybody. It's her first season. Tamra just says she just like lying. Tamra said she's known her about 10 years now. And she just likes lying. You know, she sipped on the juice, the cocktail a little too hard. And she be lying. She contradicts herself. Child. And then Katie brings up, well, if she's, you know, a little, you know, tight on money, there's a lot of gifts being given and whatnot. And then here comes Tamra. Well, she's living above her means, and she's been like doing that for a long time. And maybe that's why she's in trouble with John. Child, you know what? When you get to be a certain age and you've experienced some hard times and you don't want to go through them hard times again, you make sure you don't do things that make you end up in that way. So I live below my means. Because, you know, look, Ray has lived, child. Let me tell you, I have lived. And it's just certain things I refuse to do. Certain things I won't do no more. I live below my means, baby. So I know there's always a will and there's always a way. Woo! If that ain't a word. Anyway, next we got Jen and no Gina, yeah, Gina and Jen, and they're relaxing too. They're in the pool waters. They're supposed to be getting in. They say it's warm and nice, but they just sit there talking. Relaxing their corns and bunions all in the pool, and then they start talking about, of course, Shannon. And Gina brings up, Shannon showed me receipts last night because Jen asked, "Where'd you go?" Well, she went to go see to check on Shannon because Shannon and Tamra got into it like they always do, and Shannon had to go, collect herself. That's her thing. She walks away so she doesn't, make matters worse for herself and whomever she's arguing with. And so far, it's only been Tamara. Girl, stop walking away and give that heifer what you need to give her, like you gave Jesus jugs when you bent over and told her right there in her face, nose to nose, "I don't care about your apology, and I just, I just rather not engage with you," and walked off. I was like, "That's how you do it, Shannon. That's how you get an itch off of you. You let them know right there in their face. If you got to get a millimeter away to tell them something, that's what you need to. If you need to get into their personal space to get an itch off for you, that's how you get an itch off for you. And there's other ways too, but we ain't gonna go there. But like I said, Gina and Jen talking about Shannon's receipts, pretty much the whole blunderous way Alexis comes at Shannon. It's not even her business. That's her man's business with his ex, who is your colleague on this show. That's wait till we get to that, child. Anyway, so the receipts was that Alexis and her ex-husband, who sued Shannon and Tamara many moons ago, the whole issue was Alexis kept saying, "That was not me. It was my ex. It wasn't me. I was divorced from him at the time, and it wasn't me. It was him." But the text that Shannon found, so miraculously, proves that Alexis was lying and Shannon was right all along. Like, I know it was both of you because the info came from both of you. And then further into diving into that mess, Shannon found the info that Tamara knew because Tamara was shown the text and there was text threads about that too. And Gina was just like, "I just can't believe that Tamara would just throw her under the bus like that." But then again, that's, Tamara's a gutter snipe. I'm saying gutter snipe. That's not what Gina said. But, Jen is just like, that's just horrible. You know how Jen is. She's just collecting all this intel on how Tamara has been a horrible person over the last, 18 years? Now, this is what I'm saying. What happened to the Jesus walks Tamara? Remember when she got quote unquote saved around the time, I think it was after she met Eddie. Now, from my understanding, Eddie is a Christian, or he mentioned that he has, a faith, he believes in God or something to that effect, that he's, strongly in it. And that's what makes him so even keel. He's not the type to be problematic for anybody. And over the years, he never has been. He's been Tamara's support system, and he's always, talked without yelling. I don't even recall a time Eddie has raised his voice. He just talks just like this, and that's it. Tamara, on the other hand, is screaming like a banshee. But yeah, what happened to Tamara's walk with the Lord? Remember when she had a whole party of getting baptized 2 or 3 times? No shade. What happened? Because I'm thinking all this, the last 3 years, Tamara has been acting a plum freaking since she's come back. Remember, she was put on pause? Ever since that, now, first year she came back, she was, but after that, she's been hell on wheels. What happened? What would Jesus do? Not what would Jesus jugs do, but what would Jesus do, Tamra Judge? See, her last name is giving her too much pseudo power. That's what it is. Tamra Judge. So she's judging. Child, I don't know. That's just from me to you. What's next in my notes, child? Because I was writing all kind of good stuff. Oh, so then Heather comes to Shannon and Emily. And while they're having breakfast or something, because Heather wants, she just kind of barged in, didn't even ask. She just said, Shannon, we need to talk. Because how we left things last night, I'm just not happy with the. Shannon still thinks that what she tells Heather, even though the same thing she tells Heather, she's telling everybody else, especially Jeff Lewis, who has a podcast of millions, if not hundreds of thousands, and it's on worldwide television, that she's telling everybody else that she thinks Heather shouldn't say it openly when Shannon has already said it openly. And that's the issue Heather has. But you know, Heather, at the time she's telling you, perhaps you should say, and are you telling anybody else this? Because I don't want to bring it up knowing that you've told someone else, and I'm thinking it's okay because you're not only telling me. That's how you get an itch off of you. That's how you get her off for you, because Shannon is all on Heather like white on rice about talking to Heather about things she said on camera, things she said in the podcast, and thinking Heather should not repeat it. This is it lunacy? Child, this is crazy. Same thing from last year, like Heather said. This is the same thing from last year. And Emily is like with Heather, like, girl, you can't expect folks to not talk about something that you brought up on this camera screen with a mic pack on. Ooh, child. Ooh, let me get some water, child. They making my throat crack. Child, let me tell you. Ooh, so then Shannon says, hold on, I'll be back. She brings up these ripped pieces of paper that serves as her receipt of the monies she spent in the relationship with Mr. Jansen. And both Heather and Emily start cracking up laughing because before Shannon came out, Heather was like, my mom has receipts. She had a whole dossier, child. And here comes Shannon with these tearaway papers she probably ripped from a little notebook that she was writing, like a little journal type of paperwork. And they're like, you cannot bring this to court. Emily's like, well, maybe you can, but do you know Excel? Can you put can you put this information? No, how about you get your credit card company to send you receipts from the time you met this man, from the last time y'all was hanging out, and just send you all your credit card receipts, and you work off of that, because this piece of paper, you need something with a little more damning documentation, something more that's more, was it provable a word, child? Because them little ripped up pieces of paper ain't gonna cut it. And Emily was an attorney, or still is, she's just not practicing. Either way, I would take everything Emily said to heart and stop bringing in these ripped up pieces of paper. Child, Shannon expects her convo should be kept. Yeah, she expects her convo to be kept secret. Girl, bye. Next, we got Gina. Gina says Heather is upset over the mammo discussion. Now, last episode, they all had mammograms. Who else was getting mammograms on these shows? What other show was getting mammograms that I was it Salt Lake? Let me look at my little, hold on. Who else was getting mammogram? Was it Potomac? Child, who else was getting mammograms? Anyway, so Gina says Heather was upset over the mammogram issue because last episode the girls got mammograms and it was quite a few of them, and everybody but Heather was discussing theirs and going over and showing concern. but no one showed concern over Heather, and she was upset about it. But the production flashed back. All the ladies were in the room together, except for Heather. But they heard Heather and somebody else like say, "Yay!" So they went, "Oh, okay, she's fine, yay!" But that, but I'm gonna say, but in defense of Heather, but they didn't bring it up to her even to congratulate her from hearing all the yays. That would have sufficed Heather to know they cared versus not saying anything. And that's pretty much what the issue is, right? So, Gina mentioned, but no, Gina's talking. Gina is talking and telling Jen that Heather said in a text message that please don't bring up any family history about the mammogram stuff. And so Gina is conflicted because she's like, well, if we're not supposed to bring it up, why is she so upset that we didn't bring it up? Oh boy. Then we got Tamra and Katie again, and they're discussing more of Jen and Ryan. And Katie asked Tamra, what about the FBI stuff? And Tamra was like, oh, I should have never said anything, but since you asked, it was more or less Ryan's business partner who was being investigated, but Ryan's being investigated too because he's his business partner. And pretty much she kept saying she shouldn't have said anything and she's going to apologize to Jen next time she sees her, which is great. So they're all done with that. And then Shannon and the ladies get ready to go. And Shannon gives the ladies some robes and tiaras to wear because it's her birthday. Shannon has on a purple for the royalty, and she gives everybody else red for her court. And then Gina brings up to Heather while they're riding on the bus the issue about Heather feeling bad about the mammo. And Gina again said in front of everybody, well, if you didn't want us to bring it up, why did you want us to bring it up? And then Heather corrected her and said, no, the text was about don't talk about my family because that's their business. But you can, ask me, that's fine. It wasn't anything not to talk about me. It was just not to reference my family in any way. And then Gina kept going on as if that wasn't enough. And then Gina hit her with a tit for tat, but trying to bring up a Watch What Happened Live session when they were, what's his name? Andy was making a joke about whose house would cost less if it needed to be evaluated. And Andy mentioned Gina asking of Heather. And Heather didn't say yes or no. Heather gives a real politically correct answer to where she's not damning anything. And then Gina says, well, you should have said something else to not make me feel or look like a fool or whatever she said, something to that effect. And Emily chimed in, yeah, I would have defended her, and said something in defense of her. And then Heather Heather's looking like, what? But in her confessional, and I agree, because Heather's my girl, but I still agree. You want to do tit for tat and bring on something months ago when you should have addressed it then? That's always Heather's thing. Address something with me then. Don't wait, because it's just going to create issues. But that whole tit for tat that Gina does, I'm sure she does that in her relationship. In her, private relationships, her romantic ones, because that type of stuff, that's what couples be doing, especially men do that. Maybe Gina's a little more male identified than I thought. And but anyway, that's a whole another can of worms. For me, I can't stand a tit for tat motherfucker. Stick to what we talking about. And don't bring up nothing from Timbuktu to try and improve your point and try and make me feel like I'm wrong in this particular thing when you're obviously been corrected about the text and what the whole meaning of that was. Just take that and keep it to heart. But no, she want to do tit for tat. Bitch, uh, Team Heather. Let me get me a shirt that say Team Heather. What else are they talking about on that bus, child? So anyway, they separate and some go shopping and eating, and then some take photos and things, so they're just separating, going whichever way. And then later on that night, they go to dinner. Then Jen checks Heather because Gina tattletaled to Jen earlier that Heather was questioning why was she purchased a $2,000 dress when she makes $6,000 a month and she's having money problems. And child, now Heather, production flashback, and it's showing different from what you trying to backpedal and pussy pop off of now when Jen checks her. So all I gotta say is, Heather, you've been checked appropriately. So Jen checked Heather, my girl, about questioning how much her stuff costs and whatnot. And she said, "Come to me if you have an issue." But then Tamra defends Heather because Heather also said that, well, actually, in the moment, Heather said, "Well, I said that because I was concerned." And then Gina motioned to Shannon, "That's some bullshit." And in the confessional, Gina was like, "She's been caught red-handed, and she's trying to worm her way out of it." And then back to present day, Heather was like, "I was just, questioning, or, is she going to be okay? Because she bought a $2,000 dress." And then Emily chimes in. So pretty much the dress cost $2,000, and so pretty much Ryan bought it for you, because they were kind of chiming in, talking, and that's pretty much what Jen confirmed, that my man got me, bought me a dress. First of all, why is it anybody's fucking business? Again, Shannon was like, "That is her business. Just leave her be with whatever she's purchasing and her finances. You don't want to talk." You don't want to talk, Shannon. So Jen, just checked Heather, and then, like I said, Tamra came to Heather's defense, because also Tamra said, "Well, also Heather mentioned that, with purchasing $2,000 for a dress, she just wants to hopefully everything is okay, and because she doesn't want to see her, end up in a world of trouble again, trying to figure things out." Child, it still is the gossip about the girl and how much money she spending on this and that and the third. If you ain't paying for it, you shouldn't worry about it. That's all I got to say. What else going on, child? Oh, yeah. So after Jen gets in Tamara's behind a little bit, now it's Shannon's turn. So Shannon brings up the text that they were talking about earlier with her and Gina. The one from Alexis and her ex, Jesus Jugs, and her ex, Jim. And so Tam was like, "I don't even remember all of that stuff. And why didn't you reference that text when you said I obviously, lied about it, or and so Emily was like, "Well, the reason why it's important to clear it up is because you condemn Shannon, but you just let Alexis, just float on by, and it's just not right." And Emily was like, "Both Heather and Tamra allowed Jesus Jug to just float on by, but they're so honing in on Shannon, holding Shannon's feet to the fire, and it's not right." I agree. So then after dinner, ladies text their men, and text their men that they're naked, and they want their men to respond. So it's a joke for them, trying to figure, and they're going to tell everybody what their man said. This is pretty cute. Katie got her response the next morning. Katie was like, he's on a golf course right now. He's not even responding. And you know, Ryan was responding before before Jen could hit send, child. Oh man. What else happened? That's pretty much for that night. Then they get half-ass naked and have a party, jumping up and down, and folks draws and carrying on. They just child, they too old for that. But I'm glad that they're having fun out there for the most part. So Shannon leaves the party early because she's gonna meet with her daughters. They're in France right now, and so they're gonna come over to London and meet her. They got some money from their dad, so they're gonna enjoy some time with mom for her birthday. So the next day, we see Emily and Tamara out getting some porridge. No, not some porridge, some fiber, child. They need some fiber. And some fiber smoothies. So they're out and they're talking about stuff and they're discussing Shannon. And pretty much Gina, excuse me, and then they're just trying to understand Shannon. Like Emily said the night before in the confessional. You guys can't be so hard on Shannon when you're just allowing Alexis to just run, free. It's just not right. So Tamara was like, she's a liar and she's always trying to, come up with something when she's the one at fault. She owes that man. She owes that man. Oh my goodness. Gina, Shannon, and Jen discuss Tamara, child. Shannon shows Jen Tamara's text of Ryan's background check. So pretty much 2 years ago in 2022, Shannon says Tamara was doing a background check on Ryan. Ooh, Jen got hot as fish grease. She got up, walked over to Tamara's room after being shown the text of all the background check conversation and even a screenshot of what was found and what not what. Girl, she walked in that room where it was Heather and Tamara getting their glam. And she started going in. Why are you doing background checks on my man? Went all the way. She went ham on, and I'm surprised that Tamara didn't come back with more than what she had a little smart stuff to say, but she pretty much allowed Jen to go off. Sometimes Tamara will do that, but Heather was trying to dissolve things with Heather. Just need girl, stay over there, Heather. It ain't just sit back and watch. Yeah, and then Jen left, came back again, and gave her a little bit more about how horrible she is and how jealous she must be because Jen has her kids and they love her and she's in a loving relationship and woo, and she's a better person than Tamara will ever be. Woo, she gave Tamara the business. But Tamara said, no, it wasn't even like that. It was simply an ask of a friend who knew Ryan and were his exact real estate credentials. That it was not a background check. That was the extent of it. But she said Shannon's trying to get Jen to see Tamara in a different way. Too late, Tamara. She sees you in a different way. Was that it? Child, that was it, child. That was it. Tamara said, yeah, girl. All right, Jen. She found her voice. Well, that was it, y'all. Can't wait to review it again for episode 16 of season 18, Real Housewives of Orange County. So please like, comment, subscribe, and share if you haven't already. And I'll catch you next time. Happy Blocktober! Bday.